Afternoon. Good afternoon. So, as always, we want to ask you 4 quick questions. You can choose either to say 3 words, one, or 3 words each. Can you describe your current state in 3 words?
111.
111.
Not starting.
Stand by.
Creative.
Excited.
Wonderful. 1 sentence. Who are you?
Have fun. Who are you?
Who am I? I'm an acrobat.
No.
1 sentence. These are always so hard. Oh. Carlos, you first.
Okay, so I guess we are a small group of acrobats waiting for new experiences.
Well said. We are also works then, instead of I am. Yeah. We are excited to be here with Berlin Circus Festival.
We are too, to have you here. Then 1 sentence, you can choose again to each go with 1 or you adapt to 1. What is circus for you?
Ooh,
That's a good one.
that's a cool one.
You could also start and then you don't stop and then you continue.
Oh yeah, okay. Circus is...
Something which goes beyond just being on stage because...
It's technically a big playground.
Ooh, it was good.
Ah, that was deep.
Nice. And the last one is a bit longer. You can take more time because everybody's quite curious, including us. What are you going to do here?
We'll let you start that one.
I mean, we are also very curious. We were talking about it for like 2 or 3 years when we all did Palazzo, a season in Berlin together. And in this cold Palazzo tent, we were talking about when do we start our first creation, the 3 of us. And we had ideas of stuff to try out. And we had a lot of crazy ideas with big rigs. And we thought about asking you, user, if we can rent the tent one day to play around. And finally we have the opportunity and we are really thankful for it. So we brought a lot of meters of pole. We brought a big rope, we brought a treadmill. We have a lot of stuff and we will do as much as we can in these 2 days.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting combination on both a personal and a professional level. I mean, like Carlos said, we had this idea already years ago and it was also super obvious to work together. Also living together and traveling together all the time, but we never really took a very specific interest in creating stuff together. And from a technical and prop perspective, we have so much stuff at home and so much to play with that it really does make it a bit of a playground. And so, yeah, I think the acrobatic combination of a lot of the stuff that you may or may not know from us as individuals, kind of blurring those lines and crossing over from one to the other in terms of disciplines, in terms of combinations of people, in terms of circus apparatuses, and yeah, a bit mousetrap almost, like the game where, you know, you knock over some dominoes and it makes a ball fly to this and that, and just kind of seeing what comes out of that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a bit adventurous with these 2 for sure.
I saw only a little video and it does look very promising in terms of risk and tension and excitement for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
And stupidity. It plays a big role.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Compared to the other groups, maybe apart to the last one, I would say you're probably the most acrobatic one, the most circus-y in circus techniques one. And I mean, you both, Maria and Carlos, you do pole, but you don't, Mandi. And
I was already super happy because you called me an acrobat. Or acrobatic. I was like, woo!
but you're all gonna mix a lot different things. And I was just wondering, you do have a short time basically to put everything up, and then a short time to try out. But all the things that you want to try out, you have been doing something of these already. Can you maybe give like this little video that you showed, explain a little image of what that is?
I mean, we did have a residency in Prague, which was unfortunately cancelled after like 3 days due to COVID. So we started playing around. We rigged everything we want to rig, or some of the stuff. And so we did the first researchy things, but then we need to cut it down, and now we continue. So you were talking about the rope, for example? Yeah.
Yeah, as they said, we started to do something. We have a lot of like, we don't have like a whole idea how it's gonna look like. We have a lot, like really a lot of like little ideas, which kind of like, as Mandy said, the mousetrap game, kind of like putting these pieces together and researching on every kind of apparatus and how we can kind of mix that. And yeah.
For example, what we want to try out here is like this one image we tried in Prague, but since we were not enough people to make it safe, it wasn't possible to really do it. It was letting Mario stand on top of the pole, and then the Chinese pole is rigged with 4 straps to the floor, and then let go all of the straps that Mario is in the end standing on a 4-meter pole without any
just
rig.
balancing.
You would
Just
undo the
balance it.
Abspannung, like the brackets here, and so he's on top of the pole, and at one point you unclick the pole, and then you just have Mario standing on a pole.
Cut.
So we have this kind of suicide jumps we want to work on more. So we have our Chinese pole, and then we have a whole vertical rope rig. So you can jump from the top of the pole down to one side of the rope, which makes the person standing on the other side of the rope fly really high and possibly on top of the pole, which is still 4 meters high. So crazy stuff we want to try out, yeah.
But you had a good point where you said, you know, like there's a lot of ideas we want to kind of try out in 2 days, but it's not necessarily like the ideas themselves are somewhat new, but the content and research and invested time behind it isn't necessarily new. I think in our case, what also really works in our favor is from working together so much over the years, we know what each one of us can do individually, kind of inside out and backwards. You know, at some point someone says, you know, like, oh, when you do this trick in your act, and they're like, no, it's not there. And sometimes, you know, whatever, I know their act better than they do, or the other way around. But just knowing each other on that kind of a level professionally, and then obviously also living together outside of that, just creates a certain, let's say, foundation or framework that kind of makes the crazy ideas a bit more possible, let's say.
Because you're all based in Berlin, but from very different backgrounds in some way and very different experiences. And what we just talked about, basically, there is the first ever circus funding, and you, Carlos, you got it. And there are other people who did as well. And I'm just wondering, what is your take and your perspective on the circus scene of Berlin and Germany?
It's gonna go big. I mean, we personal know like more than 5 new creations which will happen soon, like in a couple of days or weeks they start. So there are gonna be a lot of new circus shows.
I mean, there's a lot of things I feel super fortunate for. You know, all of us being based in Berlin, having this opportunity at Berlin Circus Festival, which, you know, generally speaking, doing some sort of creation or, you know, any idea where you're investing a lot of time, energy, and love, it rarely happens at home. You know what I mean? So to kind of be on home turf, but still go home and sleep in your own bed at night and come back, like that in and of itself is a really cool opportunity. Germany and the German circus scene, I think it's amazing that they're starting to fund stuff more. I think, or starting to fund circus at all, not just more, but at all. And outside of that, you know, from my background, I feel infinitely lucky to be living in Germany in general, because, you know, they are giving support from the government for freelance artists, and most other countries in the world don't necessarily function in that way. So I think Germany is putting itself in a really good position to make some pretty awesome circus happen.
Well, we already talked about it before. I think this year, 2020, like, as we all experienced, nothing took place. But I think 2021, there is a lot. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna flip around for sure. Yin and yang.
Yeah, for sure.
I would open it up to you if you have any questions for them, because as we said, there is a big team who wants to support you and can support you with anything going from basically all the things regarding especially you rigging and stage management, etc., and the technical team, and there are a lot of artists here from different backgrounds and can help with ideas or building things or supporting, and I think everybody's quite interested in interacting.
I can just start that by saying, I think from our side too, we're also super open. So like if you guys also have ideas that you want to throw in that maybe we don't necessarily see initially, or that just because it doesn't come from our side doesn't mean we're not interested. If you guys have ideas to come to us first, please. Like, it's one of the aspects of Berlin Circus Festival that's really interesting because there is that exchange. So I think we're also quite open.
Do you have any questions?
Nobody?
Yeah. Are you planning to do any like showing, or you just like use this time for just rehearse and try out things?
Sorry, can you also speak up?
Us?
Yes.
Or the question?
Well, everyone.
The question was if we're planning on doing some sort of a showing. I think from our side, because there's so many, I don't want to use the word dangerous, but there's some technically advanced ideas we'd like to try, and a lot of it's new, if that sounds somehow better. We wanted to kind of hit it hard the first day and see what comes out of that and how realistic it is to maybe put something together or do any sort of a presentation. But I think we're pretty open-ended at this point, and depending on how the first day goes, we'll really mitigate as to whether we put something together for the second day as a showing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
You also said you come from different backgrounds. I would be interested to know what are the backgrounds you're coming from.
Nice, that's a fun one.
What's my background? We all know Carlos and me. I'm Swiss. That's the main background. No, I did. My father was an acrobat, so I kind of like grew up traveling the world as a kid already. Then going more into dance, breakdance, hip hop, this kind of scene. Then I came to Berlin. I did the circus school, the state circus school, Berlin, as like Carlos as well. And
For handstands, actually.
for handstands, and then afterwards I went into Chinese pole, flying pole.
Somehow always hard to start. I'm from the States. I grew up in Orlando, Florida. I used to sing and dance on stage for Disney as a kid. Super cheesy, the videos are mega hidden. But then I got into dance training, went to Montreal Circus School at 18. Then I was on tour for quite a few years, 4 or 5 years, back to back. And after I was done touring for 5 years, I wanted to live somewhere real again. But Montreal winters are a no-go in my book after growing up in Florida. So I ended up being based in Berlin, and I've been here ever since.
some weird choice for winter time, definitely.
Hey, but it was, yeah, I don't know. Growing up in Florida, you're already making your life hard because nowhere else is Florida. And then, I don't know, Berlin is gray for sure, but it's not -40. So there's that.
Well, I'm originally from Berlin and I still live here. Nothing much changed. I did the cycle school in Berlin as well, 2 years after Mario, and after graduating, like 1 or 2 years after graduating, we started also a duo.
You also started as a juggler, no?
I started circus school as a juggler, changed to Chinese pole, now mainly doing flank pole, yeah.
Nice. Other questions?
Nice. Then I think, thank you. We're very much looking forward to see more.
Us too?
And I would say that's it for the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.